Kids, how you doing today? I'm going to do a vlog for September 20th, 2018. I don't do vlogs as much as I used to anymore, but I had lots of different topics I wanted to touch on, and it's the best format for it, so let's get to it. Yesterday, I made a very angry, a lot of cuss words, video about women, and particularly Fox News female hosts that are attacking this professor for coming forward with the sexual abuse / attempted rape claim. No one who hasn't been raped or sexually assaulted should ever speak up and voice an opinion on that subject, in my personal opinion. It disgusts me. It makes me so angry because they sound so stupid and they're shooting themselves in the foot. And yesterday, as I pointed out, a lot of these bleach blonde ladies at Fox News all had to suck Roger Ailes' dick in order to get their jobs to begin with. So the fact that they're sitting there trashing another woman who was a victim of a sexual assault, and here they are selling themselves just to get a job and be on TV, is the height of irony. It's repulsive. Nothing makes them superior, and there's no way they should be talking about victims of attempted rape or rape victims at all, because they are just prostituting themselves, and that's what they've done. And that's why they all kind of look alike, and that's why they all work there, and that's why their big boss was fired, and the boss guy underneath that. So it's a well-known fact. But other women do that on TV too. CNN gets some women that do this. MSNBC occasionally will get somebody to do this, and it's just repulsive. It's repulsive on an even deeper level because it's a woman. And women by far outnumber, well, not by far, but by some outnumber men, at least publicly, in the number of rapes and sexual assaults that they get. Now, when men do it, it just sounds completely douchey. And usually you can disregard it rather quickly because we live in this patriarchal society. And in this patriarchal society, it's still rewarded if you, quote, give it your all. And when men say give it your all, what they're saying is your body, too. And that is not exclusive to females. It can be males as well. So giving your all is a way to climb the ladder, not only the social ladder, but it's also to climb the professional ladder. And doesn't make it right, but that is our society still. And I was thinking today, as I was cleaning my pool, I was thinking, we defend this patriarchal society, and we defend this racist society in the United States with such gusto. It's like it can't be touched. And so we built in like religious values that justify it. We built in Christianity as the, quote, religion where you cannot question anything about the patriarchal society, etc. And I remember this country back in the, I think it had to be 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, somewhere back there. We used to put down and sanction and carry on and bitch and complain in the media about South Africa and apartheid. But is our system any better? This forced patriarchal society and this rapey system that we seem to have that rewards giving your all, and this society where both men and women find it exciting to get one up on someone else through sexual assault or rape, because women do it too. Women can sexually assault, even men. So don't think that there can. There's no innocent parties here. Women also can intentionally give it their all because they're meaning to achieve an end, and sometimes it blows up in their face and they don't get what they expected. And that's what men fear most, because if you've scorned a woman, she's going to get even. And a lot of men are trying to say that these women coming forward all these years later are all scorned, but that's not the truth. Usually if you scorn a woman, she's going to come at you pretty quickly. But if you assault someone, male or female, especially sexually, they're not necessarily going to come forward anytime soon, unless they're on the verge of death and they had to go to a hospital and they're bloody and they have to explain why they presented themselves in such a state. That's a whole different monster. Then they talk about it right away because they have no choice. For example, when I got brutally gang raped in another country and I flew home, I had to go to my doctors, and when my doctor said, "Why are you looking like this? Why are you bleeding in the places you're bleeding?" I said, I had to tell him I was brutally gang raped. There's no way of hiding it. I'm not going to say, "Oh, I shoved a toaster up my ass," or make up some kind of wild story that didn't make any sense. At that point, you just have to face it. But then, right after I told my doctor, I stopped talking about it for years and years and years and years and years. I didn't want to discuss it. It was horrifying. It questioned the whole concept of your masculinity or being a man. And with women, I don't know if mothers sit their daughters down and say, "Listen, you're going to get harassed. This is just part of the program," or not. Usually young boys, though, don't get that kind of pep talk from parents. So when it happens, when your priest starts molesting you or raping you or whoever, your uncle or somebody's friend's father or whatever it was, or total strangers, men tend to be less prepared. It almost seems like women expect it, and they start getting that creepy behavior in high school with the boys when the boys start getting interested in the girls. And there's even a certain amount of violence that goes on with men trying to get attention from women. And what's always been strange to me is that women tend to, at some level later in life, find this abhorrent behavior exciting, and they want the man to be this super strong, overbearing, toxic masculine piece of shit, because that actually gets them excited. And if the man is too nice, too sweet, too understanding, or blah, 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 whatever, he's just considered a cuck. They like to use that word, cuck, and he's no longer exciting. He's just a doormat. So it's a strange payoff to be socially responsible with your behavior. Now, the idea that you can't get through high school or junior high or college without being rapey and sexually assaulty and all that kind of stuff is bullcrap. And the idea that I've heard lately, and some men have been bringing this forward, and some women also, that all those young things that happen when you're in high school and stuff should just go away and be forgiven because you were young and dumb. That's crazy. It should follow you your whole life. If you make a mistake, it follows you your whole life. You chose to make the mistake. There was other opportunities. There are millions of people in this country that don't break the laws, that don't have criminal records, that aren't rapey, that don't trespass or steal or do all these other things that are very common, because there's a lot of people in this country with criminal records. But not everyone has a criminal record. Not everyone has to get to the point of misbehaving so bad that they become criminal, or they become creepy, or they become rapey, or sexually assaulty, or anything like that. That's a very, very big thing, and it needs to be addressed. And why we have people defending it, particularly people that have slept their way to the top, defending the system, I guess because it makes them feel better inside or superior inside because they had a nicer rack than the other bleach blonde sitting next to them after the interview or before the interview. I don't know. I've never had to sleep with someone to get a job. I haven't. Now, I've slept with people as a job, but not to get a job. There's a difference. There's a difference between being a whore and working a casting couch. Because a casting couch is for free. That's just slutty behavior. If you're a prostitute, you get paid. So it's guaranteed. You get the money first, then you perform the act, which is a consenting thing. Now, you can rape a prostitute. You can do things that were not negotiated and put a prostitute in a rape or a sexual assault situation. But the chances are the prostitute, unless they're very new, they have contingency plans for all of that. I know, because that was a job I did. That's how I made ends meet at times, because I had no other choice. When you live out on the street, you do what you got to do to survive. That's just pure and simple. Now, this defending of this patriarchal system and this grip it has is diseased. And I was also thinking today, what group in America has been downtrodden probably the most, besides the American Indians, in our society? And generally people come to the consensus it's the black community. And white America has done everything humanly possible to just destroy black America. And black America, for a while, had the chance to build really strong families. So then white America changed laws and started attacking black males and putting them in jail and doing mass incarceration to disrupt the black family. And the black family, traditionally even then, was a matriarchal society. Black women have always been very revered in their culture, and they had a lot of queens in Africa as opposed to kings. Women kind of ruled the roost. I mean, they needed their men, don't get me wrong, but not to the extent, not to this diseased patriarchal society that we live in here in the United States. So now that you've taken all the men away and locked them up, and you have all these single women running a maternalistic society, it grinds against the fabric of the rest of the society, because the Latino society and the Asian society both are very, very paternalistic, as are the whites generally. So then you have the blacks with their subculture of matriarchal rule, and it makes the friction just stick out that much more. It's not just the skin color, it's the whole outlook on life. It's the whole outlook on the roles of men and women, which is why you always see black women working, and you see typically in the media, particularly, a black men just hanging around looking for trouble, so to speak, even though millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of, hundreds of millions maybe, of black men go out and work every day and go home and take care of their job and are good fathers, and they're good husbands, and they're wonderful people. But society doesn't show that. Society focuses on the difference. And one of the things that it focuses on is that matriarchal, patriarchal difference, besides just the skin color. But we forced by law this matriarchal society on blacks in America because we keep locking up all the men. And what else are you supposed to do? I mean, seriously, we're not giving them any other choice. We're not giving them a choice to say, hey, do you want to change to a patriarchal system? You can't if all the men are locked up in prison. So when you hear people talking about things they don't know, if you hear somebody making commentary or putting down somebody that is a sexual abuse victim or a rape victim because they didn't run out the next day with a bullhorn and say, hey, I got raped, I got totally humiliated, I got totally turned into an animal, I got my humanity stripped. That's not a conversation a lot of people are comfortable having. And occasionally they'll go out on a limb and maybe tell their best friend or a couple of people, but it's not something that they usually stand up on YouTube like I'm doing now, or other huge platforms and say, hey, I was totally dehumanized and humiliated. Look at me. Who wants to have that conversation? And how do people look at you differently after you've had that experience? There is a silent backlash with women. What did you do to deserve that? What were you wearing? How are you acting? Because somehow it's your fault. And then with men, it's how come you weren't man enough to stop it? Even though it could be multiple people holding you down and physically beating you and raping you, or you could have been clubbed from behind and knocked out, or given some sort of date rape drug and totally had no control of yourself. As a man, you couldn't defend yourself in that situation. Same with women. You can't defend yourself if you're totally drugged out, or you're knocked out cold, or you're held down and forcibly beaten while you're raped by multiple people, everyone taking a limb and spreading your legs and holding your arms down and pinning down your torso. What are you supposed to do? It just takes away your humanity. You then just become this piece of meat, this thing to be dominated. And if you look at some of some of the pornography that's out there, it's always getting one up on someone else. Seems to be an exciting theme. Like, I ordered a pizza, so therefore I'm in control when the pizza guy comes and I'm looking for some dick. I have the right, since I'm the customer, to seduce the pizza delivery guy and make him perform sexual acts for my satisfaction, so that I give them a good rating on how well their pizza tastes and the service of the restaurant. I simplified that, but that's basically like a very common scenario. It always seems to be getting one up on someone, seducing someone that it may not be their intention at all. Like you didn't go to work for Pizza Hut so that every time you knocked on a door, someone was milking you in order for you to survive or get a tip or anything like that. I mean, think about it. But it makes for an exciting porn for a lot of people. Or cheating. Here's another one that a lot of people live through, that can be very scarring, but it makes an exciting porn, and it's very common. Let's say the man's busy working all the time, trying to make ends meet and please his over-demanding woman partner or male partner who seems to be hung up on things and materialism, and he's so busy trying to make it that his friend steps in and starts to satisfy the partner by cheating, the partner cheating with, let's say, the friend, to get some pleasure because the guy is out there so busy working, he's not home taking care of business. But yet the only business you seem to want from the guy is the money. So it's a no-win situation. And I've met people that have had that real life occurrence happen, and they've also confessed, for example, that they've watched porn like that before in their past and they thought it was exciting, but then when it happens in real life, not so much. You feel like a fool, and you feel like a big fool. So that's another issue. We're getting trained in a lot of cases to find this one-upping, this power thing over other people, like the last frontier of excitement. Just having consensual sex doesn't seem to be enough, or having group consensual sex, or having any kind of consensual sex doesn't seem to be fulfilling people's needs. Instead, they have to have this one-up power trip. And it turns society into this rapey, creepy, abusive experience that a lot of people hold scars for, and they don't talk about it. But it's there. And it's common. And I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people. And when I was a massage therapist, I worked with hundreds of people that were rape victims and sexual abuse victims. And it can be debilitating just to get touched in any way, shape, or form. And it's like having to relearn. It's like if you fall off a horse. You're going to not, if you don't get back up in the saddle, you're going to be terrified of horses for the rest of your life. And unless you push yourself to do that, well, getting sexually assaulted is the same way. If someone's touched you in a wrong way or in a violent way, you're not going to want to be touched anymore. And you'll shut yourself down. But then it starts to kill you inside because humans need touch. So you have to go out and you have to risk, and usually you have to pay a professional to touch you with the proper intention so that you can feel safe again, that it's okay to be touched. And there's millions of dollars to be made just not being creepy and not being rapey and not being sexually molesty. I worked in the industry. I know that. And that's sad. Why should there be so much money to be made just for touching? Because so many people abuse it. It's really bothered me this week. It just, occasionally it gets under my skin, but this one's really getting under my skin, and the fact that no one wants to investigate it just seems to be so patently unfair, particularly because this gentleman that's running for the Supreme Court is not entitled to a lifetime position where no one can touch him. He's not entitled to that. He has to earn that. And to earn that, you have to go through an extensive background check, and they're not doing that this time. The man has lied to the Senate. In previous times he's been in front of the Senate having to demonstrate that he is of good quality character, he's lied. And now we're coming out with he's rapey and abusive. And we're coming out with more stories that he only hires people that look a certain way, particularly females. Now, that sets a pattern. And he was picked by the rapiest president ever. The creepiest, most sexually assaulting, openly sexually assaulting president ever. No other president has said, grab him by the pussy. Not one that I am aware of until we have this one. So I wanted to talk about that. And then real quick, I want to talk about a whole different subject. And that is changing your medication for surgery. I'm having surgery next week. I'm having my gallbladder taken out. And I've had to stop taking several of my medications, one of them being my medication for psoriasis. And it basically weakens your immune system, shuts you down so you're not overreacting, because psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis are autoimmune diseases. So it's there, you take this medication and it kind of slows you down so your body's not attacking itself so much. But the particular medicine I take also has mental side effects, which are well documented. Depression, deep depression, and suicidal thoughts. And now that I've been off this for a few days, I'm starting to feel this manic phase going on. My body's starting to wake up and kind of roar to life, but not in a healthy way. It's in a manic-y, frenetic, kind of nervous way. And I'm trying to figure out how to cope with this for the next week and some days, because I can't take it right afterwards because I've got to heal. And being diabetic, you need all you can get to heal to begin with, just because diabetics heal slowly. So they don't want me to rush back and start this drug again. So I'm going to have to learn. I mean, as my body's getting off, it's like, okay, so this is one chemical reason we're not going to be so quiet, so depressive. Let's wake up, get nervous. It's a side effect of surgery. And I haven't even had the surgery. I don't have it for a full week. I don't have it till next week. So remember, if you have multiple conditions or you have mental conditions and they're adjusting your medications for, let's say, a surgery, it has side effects. All these drugs have effects. And when you put one in and you take one out, all the rest of the drugs start to play together differently. And it can really dramatically change your life or your body or your brain or your functioning in just a few days. Because once that shelf life comes out and the half-life starts to die in these medications and the levels start coming down out of your blood, it's game on. It's a whole new program. So I wanted to throw that in there too. And I'm trying not to be as mean and nasty and angry as I was yesterday, but I'm not taking down my yesterday video because that needed to be heard, as angry as it was and as rude and vile as it was, because that's just the harsh truth. And we need, as a society, to have a look at this and fix it. Because if you look at mankind's history, we've been trying to improve on ourselves for thousands of years. It is not in our nature necessarily to just stand still. There are some people that are terrified of change and don't do well in change, and those people tend to be what they call in this society conservative, but still on some level they want things to get better, just not different. So it's a matter of taking that leap of maybe we can look at this in a different way. And hopefully after this election cycle, if we hire a lot of women, which I hope we do, we'll start to have that conversation and break this old style that we seem to hold on to so dearly, like South Africa held on to apartheid for so long. So that's all I wanted to say. I hope everyone's doing well. It was nice talking to you, and we'll talk to you later.